There are some interesting things that connect these readings and prepare us for Christmas. If you look at the first reading, it's from the prophet Micah, and he's talking about the great ancient times, one who is to be ruler of Israel, whose origin is from of old, from ancient times. And when he's referring to ancient times, he's referring to the time of David, because Micah is writing in the 8th century BC. And so it's like about 250 years after David. So it's kind of like about us writing about the founders of this nation, George Washington and the likes of him. And so it's a long time between those two things. And it helps to connect those things. You ever have one of those days where you wake up and your brain's just not working right? I got about 2 hours of sleep last night. I just couldn't sleep, and I had this wonderful homily that I gave yesterday, and it's not there. Okay. His greatness shall reach to the ends of reach from the ends of the earth, and he shall be peace. So when David came in, David was the first one to unite all the tribes after they had been dispersed. And after him, his son came in, Solomon, which is a name that means peace. And so for a generation and a half, there was peace. And it was for generations and to this day considered the pinnacle, the highest point in Jewish history as far as a people, as a kingdom, as a united people with one singular identity. And there are things that are worth noting and comparing in these readings. David is that first great king. And David, in the Scriptures, we hear about him dancing before the Ark of the Covenant. And that connects to the Gospel reading. Because, well, let's back up a little bit, see how good you guys are in church history. What was in the Ark of the Covenant? Does anybody know? Was it empty? Now, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, they had sand in the Ark of the Covenant. That's not really what was in there. I'm going to check the thermostat, make sure it's working here. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. It's a little chilly in here. Now, the Ark of the Covenant had two things in it. Does anybody want to guess what they were? CCD teachers, you can't answer this because you know this stuff. What was in there? The law. The 10 Commandments were in the Ark of the Covenant along with Moses' staff. Now, his staff was in there last time I checked. The walking staff. Not the people that he worked with. Because it would have been really tight in there. Now, the Ark of the Covenant is gold. It's pretty, it's shiny, and you heard the stories that, one time it was teetering a little bit, and one of the guys went to stabilize it, and he touched it, and it killed him. Now, there's great power and great care that is given to the Ark of the Covenant. And in the Scriptures, I think it was in the book of Samuel, I'm not sure which one, David danced before the Ark in joy. He was excited and happy to welcome the Ark from the north, the northern part of the kingdom where the Ark had been kept. And he brought it into Jerusalem. Jerusalem meaning new peace in Hebrew. Bringing it into the city of David. Why do I mention that? Well, because the gospel talks about Mary setting out to the hill country of Judea. So she's coming from the south, near Jerusalem, and going to the north and she is carrying within her Jesus. Now, there's a connection there. In the Ark of the Covenant, we had the Ten Commandments, the law, the staff of Moses. And now Mary is coming, and she's got within her Jesus, who is the fulfillment of the Mosaic law and the fulfillment of everything the prophets had to say. So, Mary is the Ark of the New Covenant. So the Ark of the New Covenant is going back from basically Jerusalem area, back up north to the hill country of Judea, kind of making a reverse trip of when it came down to Jerusalem to David. And then what happens? The greeting of Mary reached Elizabeth's ears, and the baby in her womb leaped for joy. Did anybody else leap for joy in the presence of the Ark of the Covenant? David. So there's a prefigurement of David in John the Baptist, or the other way around. John the Baptist is symbolizing in a similar way that joy that David had in the presence of the Ark of the Covenant. John the Baptist is the greatest of the prophets. And he is there, even in the womb, proclaiming the presence of the new covenant, the new law, the new or the fulfillment of all of the prophets. And this is exciting. This is what all of Judea and Israel have been waiting centuries and centuries for. 1,000 years. They have been waiting for him to come. And it brings us to a point to ask that question. Are we waiting for the Lord in that same way? You know, kind of one of those fun little traditions that we have in Greenwood. That's the land far to the south, where it's much warmer in the church there. Now, when Christmas rolls around, I remember, there's some people here from Greenwood. Anyway, we would have Christmas Eve Mass. And about a minute before Mass was going to start, we'd hear somebody coming in, and you hear something to the effect of, and you're like,
what is that?
And a guy comes in wearing a big red suit with white tuffy stuff around there and a red hat, and takes the red hat off, and he's got a box, and you know what I'm talking about? Okay. There's this guy, looks kind of like Santa Claus, comes in, and I'm just thinking, am I in the right church? And the guy comes in, and he's got a box, and it's all wrapped up pretty. And what does he do with the box? He walks up with the box, nice and slow, and he's got the bells ringing, and he comes in and he genuflects before the tabernacle, nice and slow and reverent, and he takes the box over to the nativity scene, and he puts the box in the nativity scene and kneels down for, 30 seconds, a minute, makes a big sign of the cross, and slides out the side door. And I was like, as a kid, I didn't quite get it. But then later on, when I was a little older, I was like, aha! Santa Claus is helping us to remember that it is in the giving of the gifts, it is in the giving of ourselves that the fulfillment of Christ is manifested. Now, the true irony of this is that as Mary was going to the hill country, she was carrying the best Christmas gift ever. She was carrying Jesus. She was carrying the gift for all of us, so that the reason why we share gifts at all at Christmas time is to remind ourselves that Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, is the greatest gift, is that participation in God's divine goodness and his desire to share with us his very self. It is beautiful, it is glorious, it is beyond our understanding. But we are here today just a smidgen shy of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day
to remind ourselves of the true meaning of Jesus coming to us, the true meaning of Mary receiving our Lord, and what that meant for all of the Jewish people as Mary goes to Elizabeth, as John the Baptist proclaims the presence of the Messiah when he's leaping in Elizabeth's womb for joy. And it shows us the depth of the meaning of that. And so we step back and it's, so what? What does that mean? Well, that means we are to be like John the Baptist. We are to be jumping for joy. Not because we see the present that's that right shape and the right size for what we ask for. I think that's the iPhone 5. I think that's the Lionel train set I wanted. Or whatever it might be. That's not the true depth and the true joy that we are embracing. The true depth and the true joy that we are embracing is more closely symbolized for what's on top of the Christmas tree. Usually a star or an angel, reminding us that the gift is something that we have received. And the reason why we come again and again to celebrate Christmas is to remind us of Jesus being that great gift for us. And our reply to that is the reply of John the Baptist. No, we don't necessarily have to go kick our mothers, but that's what he was doing from the inside. And awakening in her the Spirit. Our job is to awaken one another like John the Baptist. Awaken one another to the Spirit of Christ present to us. Where is Christ most present to us? I'll give you a clue. It comes from this area right here. The Eucharist. Jesus Christ. The connection between Christmas and Easter is very present to us because at every Mass we get to receive Christmas and Easter all wrapped up into one. It is Jesus Christ himself taking that bread and taking that wine, making it into his own body and blood, and giving us the ultimate gift, the best gift that we could possibly ever receive, the gift that makes us what we receive. And I must say, the phrase that always comes to my mind when we talk about the Eucharist, and it applies here as well as anywhere, you are what you eat.